Hey there, Devin Sizemore. I want to record this webinar to give you a full walkthrough of the connection expansion system. So this is the system that I cover in the connection expansion book, but this is going to be a visual that shows you the whole system from start to finish, assuming you go to a networking event or some sort of networking opportunity, and then how the system works, some of the language, some of the things that are used, so you can really visualize the system. That's what this is going to be. So it's a full pull the curtain back, show you the system step by step, how it looks, how it fits together. And so, yeah, I just want to walk you through that. There'll be other videos for the connection expansion system that talk to you about retargeting and changing your ask. And there's some mindset ones and follow-up ones and things like that. But again, this will be a full system overview for you. So buckle up. I'm going to show you everything. Hopefully there's nuggets in here, and this should give you a really good idea of how you could leverage this system for your current network to get more value, get them engaged, get them making more connections, and then how you could use the system to rapidly expand your network. As of recording this, it's the end of the month. Looking at this month alone, I personally have sent out about 100 connections, which is part of this system and process. We'll show you. Don't freak out. I'll give you some tips on how to overcome that. Also, I've received more than 20 connections directly inbound. And so those are warm, qualified, aligned connections based on the meetings I've had with people. That's 20 meetings now I can carry into the next month with new people to meet. And that's not counting all the people that are already on my calendar because they were referred to me and they were connections from previous months. So the system starts to work for itself once you work it. So let's dive in. Let me share my screen and let's show you how the system works. Right, here we go. So this is the full overview of the system here from, again, attending event all the way to nurture. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and we'll just start walking you through it. So let me zoom in here. Let's drag over. So the first thing we're going to do is we're attending some sort of event. Again, whether this is in person or it's a virtual networking, it doesn't matter. What matters is you have an opportunity to meet people in some way, shape, or form. In the book, I share this example of being at a birthday party for my daughter. This is preschool age and standing around awkwardly. The parents are all staring at each other. But how I was able to use the questions we're going to talk about and the 5 core principles of the system to not make assumptions and just go ahead and meet people, that turned into 6 figures of revenue plus a bunch else. So the first thing is attending events. In order to succeed, you just got to have something on your calendar and you got to commit to it and you got to show up. That's it. That's all you're holding yourself accountable to there. Nothing crazy. That's all. We just need to get something on the calendar to get you in front of some new blood, some new faces, some new people, right? Once the system matures, you'll get inbound connections that will do that for you, right? But to start, let's just assume you have to go an event. Now, the system does work if we just jump forward to the nurture cycle to re-engage your current network. But again, let's go through the system and show you how that might fit and where it might fit. So one thing I want you to keep in mind when you go to any event is what kind of conversations are you going to have? Often we're winging it and we're stumbling through conversations. We're talking about the weather, sports, the food on hand. We're trying to find all these icebreaker opportunities. My recommendation is to ask 4 questions, the same 4 questions I've asked, the same 4 questions that those I train have asked. We use the same 4 questions no matter what the environment is. There's a reason it works. And the big takeaway is if you control the conversation and ask the questions first, what will happen is those people will then ask you the same questions back. So first, you got to just show up to an event, right? Second, let's have a set of questions you're going to ask so you can control the conversation, which starts to teach people how to ask you for what you want. And then that's a big tip there. The other thing you have to do, again, going back to those 5 key principles, one of them is make no assumptions about any relationship, any person you're going to meet. So we can't go into this event only hunting for prospects. We need to go in this event just to meet people. That's it. That's our only expectation. We're going to meet people. We're going to ask the questions. We're going to get their contact information. That's a successful event, right? Then we'll follow up, follow through. They'll go into our system and we're going to outperform our competition and others at the event because of our follow-up and how we add value, the language we use, things like that. So here are the questions, right? We're at an event. First, what do you do? That's the easy one, right? It's easy. You want to understand their business profession, where they're at in their journey. What do you do? Very basic. Next, how long have you been doing that? This is a key question because if they say they've been doing it for a long period of time, right? Then I'll usually say something like, you must love what you do, right? That gets them to talk about, yeah, passionately, I love that. Or, no, I'm burnt out, I'm stuck. Great. Both of those are good information. We're getting to talk about what they do and share a little more. If they say, less than, again, a year on here, really it's a year, 6 months, I typically ask, like, what'd you do before? I'm trying to figure out their previous network so that we understand what their previous network, their previous industry, the previous access that they might have to contacts, right? So that's what we're looking for there. And so again, I'll ask the second question, how long have you been doing that? Based on that, I'll ask them one of the two or make the statement based on short or long. And then I always end the conversation with, hey, who's an ideal client for you? Or who's a great connection for you, right? Some version of that, but who's an ideal client for you is great. That one works really well. So we always end with that question because we were trying to teach the person we're talking to that we are trying to add value to them. We're trying to help them. It also gives us a little bit of information so we can start thinking about possible connections for this person. When you go through the connection expansion exercise, there's a separate video for that. That same exercise you go through to expand your current client ask into a bigger ask, so we go from one to one to many, one to many to many to many, is the same process you can go through in making connections to this person we're talking to. That will come into play later, and I'll give you some examples of that. But just know that that same connection expansion exercise for you, which will unlock more connections and the ability for you to build your network, will also empower you so you can make connections to the people you're meeting. So those are the questions we want to ask. And when we ask that last question, always ask them for a business card or their contact information. Hey, let me grab a card. Do you have a card on you? Or grab their phone number, their email. I prefer to get email. It's a great follow-up mechanism for the process, but get whatever contact info you have. And then if they give you a business card, on that card, jot down a couple notes that will remind you of your conversation, maybe something that stood out to them, how they're dressed, so a visual reminder if you're a visual person, and then that ideal contact. That's a great thing to do. And then you're done, right? So that's how I like to navigate conversations. You get in it quick and you give yourself permission to get out of it quick because you have a start and a natural finish. Also, if you control the conversation, what you'll find happen is mirroring. The other person will ask you a lot of the same questions. So they're going to say, hey, Devin, tell me what you do. Well, how long have you been doing that? Who's a great connection or ideal client for you, right? So now you just have to be able to answer the same questions you're asking, right? It positions you as an introvert to be confident in your ability to network because you have a script and questions you can follow. You're going to answer very similar ones because most people will just repeat them. And if you're an extrovert, it will keep you in line because you don't want to talk too much. You don't want to take over the conversation and you don't want to talk to one person for too long. You need to get out of conversations. Your goal is to meet as many people and get their contact information, have a great, genuine conversation. They remember you, and then we can get to the follow-up process. So that's our first meeting. Again, whether it's a structured networking event, a gala, a birthday party, it doesn't matter. Ask the questions, get their contact information. You've done your job. Now we start the fun part. And again, all of this is about controlling what we can control. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to follow up, and we are going to follow up meticulously. This is where having a task management system or a CRM that allows you to assign tasks to a contact critical. It will help you not drop anything, and it helps you just keep people re-engaged, even if they no-show you, even if they don't get back to you. We're going to nurture forever, and that will start building this compounding effect. Think the snowball down the mountain, right? That will pick up speed and just start building for you. So within 24 hours. So if you're going to go to an event today, time block sometime tomorrow, you're going to send them an email. The email is going to say, hey, it was great meeting you at XYZ event. I enjoyed briefly learning about you and what you do. I would love to schedule a time to learn more about you so that I can better make connections for you. Here's a link to my calendar so you can grab a time that works for you. I look forward to connecting with you, Devin. Everything about that script is about the other person. Where we met them, great. So we're connecting dots. Hey, I enjoyed chatting with you. I'd love to get together with you to learn more about you. Here's a link to my calendar, ease of access, right? So I can make connections for you. What you'll find is your book rate goes up, right? People are like, hell yeah, I'll connect with that guy. Even if they're positioning to sell you or do other things, great. That's amazing, right? Do that. Take the meeting. Again, We have to follow up within 24 hours. And we have to use a script that's all about the other person. So use that script. Again, those scripts will all be provided. So you'll have that, but just know that that's the script we want to use. If you miss your window of follow-up, don't worry. I've sent these emails a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later when I dropped the ball and I'm too busy and didn't time block either. And I'll just say, hey, sorry, I didn't get a chance to follow up with you right away. Would love to connect with you, right? So we just add a little language in there, own it, no big deal. The process works. Now, here's where it kicks in. And this is where you might be like, Devin, it's excessive, but this is where we succeed because we succeed in the follow-up, right? I then follow up with that person every 3 business days, 5 times, right? So if we had an event Monday, I'm going to send them the first email Tuesday. I'm going to follow up the following Friday, then Monday, Tuesday, follow up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow up Monday, right? So you get it every 3 business days, 5 times. Here's some tips with that. If you like the phone, then the first touch is email, the second touch is phone. If you call, you have to leave a voicemail. And in the voicemail, you're going to tell them, hey, same script. Hey, this is why I'm following up. I'm going to send you an email too in case that's more convenient. And as soon as you hang the phone up, you send them a follow-up email. What you'll find happen is they typically won't call you back, but they will go reference the email you just sent them. They'll grab a time, mission accomplished. We got them booked into a meeting, right? That's what we're trying to control. If they don't get back to you, we're going to do those 5 touches every 3 business days. We then move to weekly touches 4 times, right? So whatever day that lands on, if it's a Monday, every Monday for the next 4 weeks, they're going to get the check-in email from you or the email to call, the email to call. Another tip is if you're going to use just email, which is what I use, I would recommend that every second touch, you reply to the first touch. So you send your original email. I like to reply to that email. Say, hey, just bump in this email. Would love to connect with you. Here's a link to my calendar. Then the third touch, new email. The fourth touch, we're going to reply to that, right? So that reply email works. I tend to get a better response rate with the reply than a fresh email. So another tip, something to keep in mind there. And if they get the 24-hour touch, the 5 touches every 3 business days, the 4 touches every week, then we move them to nurture, which is at the end of the cycle. That's where we're going to move them to a certain amount of nurture. So just know we'll get there. But all these contacts are going to end up getting emails from us forever because we haven't been too salesy. We haven't pushed them off. We haven't been aggressive. So there's no reason we can't continue to check in and nurture that relationship over time. Some of my biggest deals have come from people that we never met, but finally they leaned into a nurture email for some reason and raised their hand and said, yes, let's have a conversation, right? So that's how we're going about booking a meeting. So we're going to do all of those touches. And then they either, again, they're going to book a meeting or you'll see on here, no, they're going to jump over to nurture. Okay. If they book a meeting, I'm going to walk you through that because, again, we're going to get to nurture. And again, hopefully you're getting some tips and some tricks and some stuff going on here. Again, what we're trying to do is take contacts and get them into a meeting. In a meeting, we can start building the relationship. We can start asking more questions. We can start positioning, right? All those things happen, but they got to be on your calendar. Now, for these book meetings, these are connection meetings is what I like to call them. I'm going to walk you through the agenda with the desired outcome and how this works, right? What I want you to know is time. If you're doing these in person, so you're driving around town meeting people in person, then an hour is a good amount of time because you got to order your coffee, you got to wait, you got to talk about other things, blah, blah, blah. If you're doing virtual, 30 minutes is perfect. You can get in and out of these meetings in 30 minutes. And if you do it right, you're only going to talk for maybe 5 minutes, which is perfect. And that means you did the meeting right. So let's talk about it. You get into a connection meeting. Here's how the dialogue of the meeting should flow. And you should be the one controlling it, right? So even if they start asking questions, I like to reposition and get back in control of the meeting. And here's what I say. Hey, tell me about you and your business. Tell me about your services. Who are you targeting? So we're going to do a current state analysis, right? You need to understand what their business is, who they're targeting, ideal clients, services they want to promote, whatever you want, spend a little time there. You need to understand the current state. Next, hey, tell me how we got here. Like, how did you get here with your business, right? I want to know the backstory. What's great about the backstory is they talk about schooling, they highlight the wins. Sometimes they highlight some struggles. They talk about their growth journey. They talk about when they founded. Lots of great back information that starts to give you more depth of character on the person you're talking to. Once we understand, I say, hey, where are you going? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish this year, in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, what are your goals with the business or your position, right? Whatever it is. They're then going to paint the future. So now we're getting this person dreaming, and they're going to set some big benchmarks. They're going to benchmark revenue goals, growth goals, team expansion goals, whatever that might be. Let them go. And then advocate for that to them. Emphasize, right? That's amazing. I love that. You got to be stoked and energized, right? You need them to understand that one, you're listening, right? That's another note. In these meetings, if you're not taking notes, you're failing, right? So if it's a virtual meeting, you better be typing on the keyboard, right? And you can even tell people, hey, I may not be looking right at you. I'm going to be taking a bunch of notes. If you're in person, you better be scribbling on a notepad. People need to know that you're listening, right? That's a great signal to let them know. But anyways, we're going to talk about the future. Let them paint that picture. Again, validate that. Affirm it to them, right? That's amazing. Heck yes, I love that. That sounds so impactful. I could see why that would impact so many people, right? Then ask them a simple question. Hey, what's in your way? Like between now and what you just painted, like what's in your way? What challenges, roadblocks, what's pissing you off? What's keeping you up at night? Whatever question you have to ask, sometimes ask a couple. They're going to then start telling you some pain points. Now, why are we asking all these questions, right? So let's go backwards and figure out like, well, why are these the questions we're asking? Well, current state, that helps us identify ideal clients, potential prospects for them. Again, back to the connection expansion exercise. If we go up the connection expansion cycle, it starts to help us understand vendors, strategic partners, educators, gathering all the buckets that might have access to those clients we could introduce this person to, which is going to come up next, right? The past, again, we're starting to learn not just about how we can help them, but about, hey, who's in their network? Who might they have access to? Nonprofits, did that come up? What are they involved in, right? Desired future state, that's the dream, right? We start to see like how motivated is this person to grow? What are they chasing? And then what's in their way? That gives us a chance to solve problems. We can share books, podcasts, resources, connections, things that unlock their future. So that's our meeting structure. What typically happens, again, if you're doing a virtual meeting, that's about 20, 25 minutes of you asking questions and answering. At some point in the meeting, they go, dang, tell me about you. We ran out of time. Great, no worries. Right now, you just give them a quick pitch. Hey, I'm Devin. This is what I do. I wear two hats. I work with this company and that company. This is what I'm chasing. Here's what we're looking for. This is the impact we have. Let me highlight a couple of services and a couple of services. Those are the kind of people we're looking for. And here's the quick actions I'm looking for. Here's the kind of connections I'm looking for. Boom, done, quick. You just vomit it really quick. Again, that's okay. They don't need to understand all of it because right now we're training and we're driving value. We're building the relationship because we can control that part. They will reciprocate down the road depending on how well you do all of that. But just worry about asking them questions, taking good notes. Now, from the meeting, I need to have confidence in a few things. One, I need to be able to edify this person. I need to truly believe in what they do so that I can connect them with people in my network. Two, I need to understand what a good connection would look like. Like who would have access to this, their ideal client, or who can unlock some challenges, right? And three, is there anything else I can provide them? I need to have some ideas of other resources, tips, tricks I could send them. That's the meeting, right? That's what we're trying to accomplish. Those are the questions we're asking. So now, after your meeting, 24 hours again. If you do this same day, it's great. Like if you can time block the end of your day to do all this follow-up, that's even better. But next day is perfect. First, you want to send them a follow-up email. Hey, Bob, it was great meeting with you. Enjoyed blah, 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 whatever they talked about. Based on our conversation, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you some connections. Here's a couple resources. Here's the information you asked for. Hey, you mentioned these two people you could connect me with or that resource. Shoot that over when you get a chance, right? We're going to send them that email with a recap. Again, owning what we're going to do, holding the mirror up and validating what they committed to doing. That's what we're sending in 24 hours. Then this is where it gets fun. We need to make 3 ideally connections to this person. Now, this is where people freak out. Devin, I don't know 3 people to send to this person. It's because you're so used to trying to send them prospects, right? Prospective clients that want to buy their product or service. Don't do that, right? Instead, what we want to do is we want to connect them with people, vendors, organizations, places that have access to their ideal clients or are targeting similar clients where there's strategic alignment. Those are easy to make because neither party is trying to sell the other party and the introduction's easy. Hey, Bob, meet Joe. Bob, you're targeting XYZ. You're amazing and a rock star. Joe is targeting XYZ. He's amazing and a rock star. You guys might have some overlap in services, but at the end of the day, I think different services, different target, or different services, same target. You guys should talk. There's got to be synergy. Maybe you could open doors for each other. Maybe you can collaborate, integrated offer, whatever it might be, right? So we got to make those connections. 3 is ideal. I'm going to give you some tips here on making those connections in a second, but let's talk about some of the other tactical things. You're going to make your 3 connections. Now, you need to assign a task to this person to follow up about the connections 3 weeks from whenever you made those connections. So now the task you have assigned to that person is a task to check in with them about connections 3 weeks from whenever you sent them. The other note about tasks, as soon as I book that connection meeting, I assign a task for the next day attached to that contact to follow up from the meeting, holding myself accountable that that to-do is on my list and I always have to follow up. I cannot drop the ball there because why would we put the time and effort to booking a meeting and learning about someone and then we don't follow up? Again, you got to follow up. You got to stick with the process. So we're going to send the follow-up. Now, here's a key about introductions. 1, the first couple sentences in the introduction, and you should have sections for both person. Joe, I want to introduce you to Bob. Bob does whatever Bob does. Here's a link to his LinkedIn and then why he's amazing. He's a rock star. He's brilliant. Whatever you can do to edify the person. The next paragraph down, typically 1 sentence, I want to introduce you because, and you make a statement why. I think there's a strategic alignment. You guys could create some podcasts or content together. He is an ideal client and express he's looking for something you offer. Or he mentioned an event he's going to, I think you could benefit from. Whatever the reason is, justify it so the 2 parties know what they're talking about. Make it easy for them to book meetings. Then you say the other party, I want to introduce you to the person above, write their name, LinkedIn, what they do, edify them, and then same repetitive sentence about why you want to connect them. But again, make it easy for these people to connect. What I find in my connection emails is better than 80% of those connection emails turn into a meeting. Better than 80%. That's what we're striving for. We want people to get real value from you. Our goal is to add value as quick, as often as we can, right? And making connections is a great way to do that. So now we've sent them a positive thank you. It was great meeting you email. We provided any resources or additional information we thought we would. If you have a book, hint, hint, right? If you have a book, maybe you mail them a copy of the book. If you didn't give it to them, if you met in person, maybe you mail it to them after. Do that all the time. Matter of fact, I have 3 packages going in the mail today to people I met with last week, right? So that's another way to add value. Hey, I'm going to shoot you some books. Keep an eye in the mail, right? Maybe you do little gift cards or something like that, a little handwritten thank you card. Add all those touches. That's great. But at a minimum, we're going to send them an email. And then we're going to have that task 3 weeks later to check in on the connections. And then we've made those connections to them, again, edifying and explaining specifically why we're making those connections. Okay, so hopefully you're with me, right? Went to an event, asked some questions, got their information, moved them through a follow-up process using the similar language to book the meeting. In the meeting, we asked a bunch of questions so that we could add value to them so we can train by doing, which is a key principle, right? I want more connections. I want you to help grow my network. Therefore, I'm going to help grow yours. So I'm teaching you to do what I want. The better you get at this, the quicker you do this, what you'll start to see is quick follow-up on this. You may even have people starting to make connections for you before you get off the call or out of your meeting. That's the most ideal, right? You may even have people that reach out to you and say, hey, let's schedule a follow-up in 4 weeks to go over the connections we made and make more. That all those things could happen plus more, right? But again, we want to control the process. We want to make sure we're nurturing, we're adding value, and we're focused on the other person. Now, throughout this whole process, there are moments you can sell. You can talk about your product or service when they ask. You can position. If you see that your product or service solves a problem for them, go there, talk about it. But again, it shouldn't be the thing you're leading with. It shouldn't just be commission breadth and sales breadth. No, it should be genuinely about building relationships with other people. So now let's talk about your 3-week follow-up. Again, you have a task assigned to that contact 3 weeks from now. It literally, the task title for me says check in about connections and follow up about if there's something else I'm following up about. Maybe it's joining my group or confirming they got the book, whatever it might be. Now that email, all I'm going to do is send a new email that says, hey, Bob, hope you're doing well and having a great day. Wanted to check in with you to see if you're able to connect with any of the introductions I made for you. If so, how have those conversations been? I look forward to hearing back from you. That's it. That's all that has to be in there. Just a quick check-in. What we're trying to do is we're trying to re-engage the conversation. So we're trying to keep this person right in our circle and keep ourselves top of mind and affirm that we added value, right? Plus, if they owe you some stuff that they haven't given you, that's a 3-week reminder that, oh, wait a second. Yeah, Devin did give me 3 connections. Those conversations have been great. I do owe Devin something, right? And that pushes them back over to giving you the connections that you were looking for. So that's why we do the 3-week check-in. After the 3-week check-in, we then move them into the nurture cycle. Now, again, remember, if they didn't book a meeting after we went through the 24-hour, the 5 3 days, the 4 7-day touches, then we go straight to nurture, right? Nurture is everyone. Now, this is a key box down here. You'll see this, right? All not cold, right? Warm, hot contacts, people that have talked to you and have real dialogue and conversation, have to have a nurture task assigned to them. Because why would you go through the time building your network and you're not going to nurture the people in it to get value out of it, right? That doesn't make any sense. So notice that it says not cold though. We cannot take cold people who haven't had conversations with us or come from some random list somewhere and move them through this process, right? We can't buy a list and push them down this journey. There are ways to use some of the language in here to do that, but it's not going to be as effective and the response rate's not going to be great. Right. So now let's talk about nurture. Okay. I did tell you earlier too, if you want to skip all that stuff because you've already got a network, but you feel like you're not getting enough out of it, we can just start nurturing your current network. And what'll happen is in the email script, and again, I'll give you that verbally here in a second, we're going to go ahead and invite them into a meeting and we'll restart the process. All right. So now let's talk about the nurture cycle. So in the nurture cycle, what we're going to do is we're going to send an email that the subject line is checking in. How are you? Question mark. That's it. That's the subject line. Doesn't need to be anything else. The email template says this. Hey, Amy, I hope you're doing well and having a great day. It's been a while since we last connected. Anything new and exciting in your world? Any new challenges? Now, the typical check-in, if you don't want to book meetings, but just want to nurture, would just say, I look forward to hearing back from you. Have a great day. Now, here's the key. If you want to fill your calendar back up and re-engage those relationships and start the process so they're sending you connections and referrals, then we switch that to, hey, Amy, I hope you're doing well and having a great day. It's been a while since we last connected. Anything new and exciting? Any new challenges? Hey, I'd love to get time on the calendar to catch up with you to make sure I best understand who to connect you with. Here's a link to my calendar. Grab a time that works for you. I look forward to meeting with you or catching back up. Right? So let's use the assumptive close language about either hearing back from you or catching back up. Always have assumptive language at the end about the action you think they would take because we want to plant that seed with them. What happens with these nurture emails is, for me, about 30% of those emails get engagement, get people replying, right? They might just reply and say, hey, thanks for checking in. Here's what's going on. Here's new information. Here's sales information. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's an updated ask. Or they might just get on your calendar. Yeah, grab the time. Let's catch up. Looking forward to it, right? Either way, what we're doing is we're taking this network of people that you probably already have, or if you go through the process that you're going to actively be building, and we get them re-engaged in the process, right? We get them back to actually adding value to you, right? Not just this cold network that's just paused, right? We want to get this network re-engaged. So that's the nurture cycle. Now, again, that's where we end up with everyone after the 3-week connection. And now let's talk about the frequency of those tasks. If this is a hot contact, they send you referrals all the time, they're active contact, or you think there's a ton of value, every 45 days. If they're warm, meaning you think there's value, they haven't sent a ton of connections, but you think they could, then again, we're going to set that about 60 days. If they're in your network, but meh, or you're worried they might be a taker, not a giver, right? Meaning that they're not going to actually make connections for you, then we move it out every 90 days. For me, the majority of people end up on a 6-week cycle. It's a great kind of middle line for everyone, and it tends to work really, really well. All right, so let's talk about re-engaging that current list. So here's an activity you could go through. If you have a database right now that you feel like you're not getting enough out of, what you could do is just start the nurture process with 1, 2, 3, 5 per day. And you just simply send them the email and assign the next nurture task for however far out, right? So it could be 6 weeks. So what I usually do is I'll send them the nurture, get them re-engaged. Again, every contact in your database that's not cold should have some sort of nurture process going on, right? That process alone will get your network re-engaged. What you'll find is the better you get at this process, you will start getting connections right after or during the connection meeting. You may even get some follow-up connections during your connection follow-up because people are re-engaged with you and seeing value, right? And then even during the nurture process, sometimes they won't only just book a meeting with you, they'll make connections or follow up based on what they told you they would do, but they drop the ball because everyone gets busy. Now, if they book a meeting, we just move them back here, right? Hey, catch me up. What's your focus? What are you selling? Who are you selling to? Right? Even if you know them, ask, what's your focus right now? What's changed since we last met? Right? Talk to me about past to current. If you don't know a ton of their backstory, ask about the backstory. Then we still paint in the future. Where are you going? And then what's in the way? Then we just move them back through the cycle, right? So we could take someone who hasn't talked to us in a while. By nurturing them, we get them to re-engage in an email. And even in the email, if they send something back saying, hey, thanks for reaching out, this is what's going on in my world, if you want to fill your calendar with meetings, that's a great opportunity to reply. Say, that sounds fascinating. Let's catch up. I'd love to learn more about that. Again, it's all about the other person, because once we get them in the meeting, we can ask all the right questions. They're going to ask us. We can catch them up on our target. We give one chance to give them our ask for what we're looking to target. And again, if you're only asking for prospective clients, the system's not going to be great. But if you're asking for those many-to-many relationships, people who can be referral partners and open doors, tons of opportunity there, right? That's where we can really shine. So that's the overview of the process. If we scale back out here, again, I've walked you through the process from attending an event to questions we ask, how we follow up, where we're going, how we nurture them long-term. A key to all of this, you've got to task manage through the process, hold yourself accountable, make sure you don't drop the ball, because that's where you're going to win and you're going to outperform everybody else. The other thing too, don't automate it. Don't automate it. I know you want to save time. This is not the process for it. This is your relationship building process. You can't automate it. The reason you can't automate it is your system's probably not smart enough to know if you just talk to someone via text or outside of the typical track loop, and then they get a check-in email, it feels weird, right? So everything that happens in the system, you're just going to move them through a task. You're going to send the email. All those emails are templated. So you're just going to copy and paste and hit send. That it's not a time intensive process other than taking the meeting, but make sure you time block the ability to follow up from the event to get people on the calendar, to follow up from the meetings to get value and show the value. And then make sure you're checking in again at that 3-week mark. And then the nurture cycle at the 45, 60 day, 90 day, or like I said, for me, most people, it's about 6 weeks is where I'm going to follow up and nurture. And you just go through the process. What you'll find is your network that is totally cold or is performing this much for connections and referrals will slowly start getting the wheels moving, and they're going to start making connections for you, and they're going to start opening doors. I can give you hundreds of examples of nurture emails where I've nurtured someone every 6 weeks for years, and finally they reply and go, oh my gosh, thanks for reaching out. I'm actually switching companies, or I have a new project. I'm so glad you reached out. We should catch up, right? So now you're in a pivotal moment to reposition your product or service or add value to them and maybe get some connections. I've also had it where they check in and go, oh my gosh, I just had a conversation with someone. Thanks for reaching out. That reminds me, let me get you connected. Boom, connection email, right? The goal of this is to get your current asset of your network producing more and to give you a toolkit to get more people into your network and deepen those relationships quickly so that we're not just adding prospective clients that don't want to be sold and don't want to have conversations with us. We want to build networks of people who genuinely want to get communication from you. They want to add value back to you because you've been adding value to them. They feel loved, they feel heard, they feel nurtured. So hopefully there's something in here, even if it's just one thing that sticks out to you that will empower you to 10x, 50x, 100x your network growth and or the performance of the current network so that you're getting more out of the thing you've already created. So many more tools. As I mentioned, the connection expansion exercise, which will walk you through how we change our ask and where that goes. If any of this resonates with you, I invite you to come and play more. First, you've got to come join ACE's Connection Group. We meet every week for an hour and a half. We collectively, as professionals, high net worth individuals, business owners, we collectively share connections with each other to help each other strategically grow our networks. Yes, sometimes you're going to get direct referrals to prospects, fantastic. But really, it's about looking for these strategic alignments, these JV partnerships, these integrated offer opportunities, events, podcasts, speaking engagements, all these other things that can put you into an authority position, edified, and connected directly to opportunities to reach many of your ideal clients or many of the people who have access to many of your ideal clients. So come hang out with us. More information on this page. The second way you can get engaged is schedule a strategy session. All of my clients start in a 2-hour session because in 2 hours, I will dig into your world, again, your current state, your future state, and we're going to identify the challenges that are in between here and there. And I'm either going to help you solve those strategically, provide connections that can help you solve those, or if you want to build your connection expansion system together, we will. If you want to go through this whole process, if you want to go through the connection expansion exercise to change your ask, we could do that. We could do both, but we're going to go through the process because I want to empower you to take quick, decisive action that will move you towards your desired future state, whether that's growing a huge business, moving yourself out of the company, or accomplishing something new. So that's the second option. Schedule a session. Let's dive into you and your business and let me help move the needle. The third option is guaranteed connections. Yes, I can help you build your network for you, but let's not even go there yet unless you're really, really excited about that. Even to get into that program, you've got to go through a 2-hour session. So if that is something you want, grab a 2-hour session, and then we can talk about guaranteed connections, and me being out there advocating for you and actively helping you build your network to reach your desired goal, to solve the problems you're looking to solve. Any and all of those are available to you, plus more. If there's something I didn't talk about, feel free to email me and ask a question. In the ACES Connection Group, we do talk about challenges and roadblocks, things that are in your way. We problem solve those together. I invite you to just lean in to get more out of your network and or to build a bigger, better network.